Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Exciting announcement for all of my listeners. I've officially opened my exclusive group, the ProjectME Passive Income Posse, to the public. This group is by application only, so we can keep the group high vibe and spend our time, energy, and expertise only helping those of you who truly want massive success and impact. You get live weekly trainings from me, special guest coaches, and direct access to me and my business partner for all of your questions. To learn more and apply, go to projectmewithtiffany.com, click on Work With Me, and select ProjectME Posse. And of course, any questions, feel free to DM me at ProjectMeWithTiffany. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and I am a self-proclaimed perfectionist and procrastinator that has been in recovery for several years now. And I'm saying that, and I have like my hand in the air, like I'm at a recovery 12-step meeting. I for sure have that procrastinator bug. And let me tell you something. Both procrastination and perfectionism are rooted in fear. They are not behaviors of your higher self. They are not behaviors that someone who is currently in a state of love and service and confidence would participate in. And I know you guys get this because I know those of you, I believe me, I see all of you. I bet you guys are actually listening to this episode as a form of procrastination right now. How funny would that be? You need to take a screenshot of this episode, share it in your Instagram stories, and tag me. If that is what you're doing, I will die. It's like, well, I know I have this, and this to do, but I'm going to listen to Tiffany's podcast on perfectionism and procrastinating because at least then I'm doing something. And I would agree. This is better than you like scrolling on social media endlessly, organizing your sock drawer, or, staring off into space, or, eating a bag of fire Cheetos. So I will give you that. But that would be really funny because that would be something I would do. Our minds are so clever. When you guys have those like good days, and we know what those are, like the coffee hits right, like you've even like worked out, so you're in like a good energy, and like you've gotten some things off your to-do list and you're feeling good and you're like getting so much done, and you love how that feels. It feels empowering. It feels invigorating. By the time it's time to go to bed, you probably sleep easier. You don't have that shame or guilt looming over your head, or that anxiety of all the stuff you've pushed off that now you've got to do the next day. It feels so good. But then what's so funny is now we're on the next day, and, maybe you are a little tired and something happened in the morning, so you didn't work out and you had to do something else, and something came up, and now you got sidetracked, and now the stuff that you were going to get done isn't getting done, and now you're like in a mood about it, and now you don't feel inspired or motivated, so now you don't do it, and now instead you're like, I need to go to the grocery store, I need to go do laundry, oh, I'll just go on social media for a little bit. And then lo and behold, it's the end of the day, or it's close to the end of the day. And you're like, well, now it's the end of the day, so why bother? I might as well do all this tomorrow. And now you have that little bit of anxiety, or for some of you, a lot of it when you're going to bed. Part of you feels like, okay because you're telling yourself the lie that you're going to do it tomorrow and you're believing it. Part of you, a little part of you also knows you've put a lot on your plate for the next day, and that doesn't feel good. Then you wake up the next morning with anxiety and even dread because of how much shit you've now have to do that you have on your plate that you've put off. You have like the real stuff, I call it the real stuff, you have to do, or there's a consequence you don't like, like maybe doctor's appointments, paying a bill, a deadline a deadline with a client, a deadline at work, whatever it may be. Is this resonating with you? You're like, oh my God, are you spying on me in your house? I do the craziest shit, you guys. I have to share this. When I'm down that path, for me, what happens is if I'm in the HALT zone, that's a dangerous zone. And if I've not shared this acronym with you, it is not mine. I don't know who came up with it, but I love it. The HALT zone is if you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, and I like to add stress. So HALTs, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed. If I am in that zone at all, my behaviors, my fear behaviors of procrastinator, perfection, really, really pop up in a strong way. For me, especially if I'm tired. And which is kind of scary because let's be honest, aren't most of us tired a lot of the time? I mean, for real. So I should say this, excessively tired. And that is really dangerous for me because I'm not in my higher self. I'm in a lower vibrating state. And I know I need to get things done, but I don't really want to. I'm not in the mood. I'm not feeling it. And then I have this crazy belief that in order for me to get these things done that I need to get done, I have to be in this some sort of magical, perfect energy state to do it, which is a form of perfectionism, right? Perfectionism isn't just like, it has to look perfect, has to sound perfect, it has to be perfect. It's also with this like magical fantasy energy state we think we have to be in order to complete the task at the best level, or in order to execute it at the best, or in order to serve people at their best, or in order for people to be happy with it, or in order for us to be able to think clearly. You have to have this magical mixture of sleep, exercise, and caffeine. That's all rooted in perfectionism. But when I go down that perfectionism procrastinator path, I do the whole thing around energy, like, oh, I really need to be in a better energy state to record these podcast episodes. I'll just use that as an example. Today's a good example. I might sound like I'm super high energy. I'm actually not. I like using the scale of 1 to 10. I'm sure those of you who are medical professionals who listen to my show can appreciate this, but I picked it up from, my pharmaceutical days. Is they have a pain scale, right? 0 to 10. 0 is no pain, 10 is excruciating, because it's very difficult for a lot of people to verbalize their pain. Well, I think it's also difficult for people to verbalize their feelings a lot of times. So I ask people how they're doing on a scale of 1 to 10 when it comes to like their energy level or their mood. I'm at like a 6 today. And I'm staring at the coffee cup in front of me, but when I'm talking, I can't exactly suck it down. I have not worked out. And normally before I would want to record episodes, I want to be at my peak energy for the day. I'm not at my peak energy, but I had to get it done. And before I started recording, I went, that little tickle voice in my head, that perfectionist procrastinator voice was like, well, Tiffany, you really should work out first, because then you'll be at a higher energy state to record these episodes. And energy can't be faked, because that's what you teach people. And energy, you want to bring the best energy to your people. So you need to work out first. And then the other side of me is like, well, I don't really feel like working out right now. And then the other side of me is like, but I also need to be in the best energy state. And it's going back and forth like a hyper speed ping pong match in my brain. Welcome to the Overthinkers Club. Who else is a member? Take a screenshot of this episode, share it in Instagram, and tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany if you're part of the Overthinker Perfectionist Procrastinator Club. Thank you. Aren't we a fun bunch? And so there was a no win there. I need more energy to show up and record these podcasts. I need to work out, yet I don't feel like working out. So now, do you see the quandary we put ourselves in? Now, the old me would have gone, you know what? I can do it tomorrow. Like, I can just do this tomorrow, and maybe I'll work out later today and I'll just start fresh tomorrow and tell myself the tomorrow line. The tonight line doesn't really work on me because I know after a certain time of day, I'm basically like as good as someone drooling in a corner. That's just how I am. I'm more so the tomorrow person. So it's like I used to buy into that. Then tomorrow would come and now I have all these things on my plate for tomorrow, and now no room left for self-care, for fun time, for free time, for luxuriating time, because I kept putting off stuff. But then I still had all the anxiety in the back of my head. If we use today as an example, let's say I didn't record these and I didn't work out. I would still have this underlying anxiety in the back of my head, which would also be inside my body going, it's like a shame. It's a shame and a guilt. Well, guilt's really shame, but like a shame and guilt kind of loop running through my system being like, well, you really should have worked out, Tiffany. You know, you really could go do those podcast episodes instead of reading Us Weekly while floating in the pool, which, by the way, yes, I've subscribed. I decided that I deserve this summer to read really trashy physical magazines. They still exist. So I subscribe to People and Us Weekly. Really riveting information in there. But it's good for it to shut my brain off. It's entertaining to me. We don't always have to be reading like personal development book number 872. Sometimes it's just good to shut your brain off and read like a trashy romance novel. I bought one of those recently. Read some, tabloid magazine, whatever it is, and get out of your head. So I would have been, sitting around or floating and luxuriating. And instead of being fully immersed in the moment, even if I was around other people, there would be that underlying, now I have to do that tomorrow. Oh God, tomorrow I was supposed to do all my laundry because my cleaning lady's coming this week. And now I have to do all my laundry, 2 podcast episodes. Oh my God. And I totally forgot I have to give all of my Amazon things for my systems manager to put in my Amazon store and my shop that's coming to ProjectME with Tiffany. That was a real hint. That wasn't from my ass. We are building my ProjectME with Tiffany shop with all TIFF approved products. So all my podcasting equipment, what I use for lighting, all the stuff I use, all my top office supplies, my top books, and only the top, like the stuff that I've truly used for years and that I'm like, no, you need this in your life, are going to go on there. So then I would just keep filling all these things that I have to do, and I really wouldn't be present and enjoying my downtime or fun time or time with other people. I would still have that in my system. We're putting unnecessary anxiety and pressure on ourselves, and it's self-imposed, and we're doing it to ourselves. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But then it's like, well, how do I stop it? I've been like this for years. I don't know how to stop it. I hate this about myself, and I don't know how to stop it. I really believe that the whole perfectionist procrastinator thing absolutely puts a dent in self-esteem. It takes away the sense of empowerment. It puts a lot of self-doubt in your mind because it's like you kind of don't totally trust yourself to really follow through and be able to do all the things that you believe it takes to have your own business, to be successful in network marketing, to start a side hustle, to go after the career you want. Maybe you want to go back to school for something and you're thinking, oh my God, how would I ever get myself to follow through on homework or whatever it is? Or it could be a personal goal like with fitness, or you thinking about, joining my ProjectME Posse group coaching membership. And you're like, well, if I join that, will I really show up? Will I really watch the videos? Will I really make the most of it? I know it's only $100 a month, but I need to make it worth it. You have this self-doubt in there because you've not fully been showing up for yourself. You've not. If you're rooted in perfectionism, procrastination, and those are your leading behaviors, you absolutely are abandoning yourself, your dreams, and not showing up for yourself. And in turn, you're not showing up for anyone who's dependent on you for money or who wants to count on you for money. Your significant other, your immediate family, your children, your churches that your church that you give money to, your nonprofits you hopefully give money to. You're actually shortchanging all of it by being in this behavior. So we need to get you out of it. And if I can get out of it, for sure you can. I mean, when I use example at the top of the show about organizing your sock drawer, I literally have reorganized my sock drawer instead of doing like several important tasks in my business before. Like I'll go deep with that shit because I'll be like, well, I need to at least be productive doing something. But I just don't have the energy or the focus or the motivation today. So I'll just do some other things around the house instead, because we know how much of a priority organizing your sock drawer is. And I don't know how many of you have this, but like I have an insane amount of socks. I live in Los Angeles. I mean, I do travel a lot. Well, we know I don't travel a lot right now. None of us do. But I mean, I do travel a lot. So I am in other climates and I do work out a lot, but I've been mostly working out at home and I do a lot of yoga. So that's barefoot. It's like, why do I have that many socks? It's very strange. I want to know who else has a bizarre, large sum of socks. Anyway, I digress. So let's help you out of this mode. Now, this behavior is not going to go away permanently, sadly, but it's not. When you've done it for a long time, it's kind of almost like a default behavior. It's like a bug in an operating system that they've been, that maybe like Apple's been trying to work on getting rid of for years. But if you hit the right keys, the bug will show up again. It just lessens over time and you'll be able to catch yourself sooner. Like I caught myself today, right? I said, no, Tiff, you've got to pick one or the other. You're either, if you don't want to exercise and you don't feel you have the energy to do the podcast, you've got to pick one or the other. Neither can happen when you're setting up the formula, a no-win formula. So what's it going to be? Fine. It's like my inner child's like, fine. Like my inner probably 12-year-old. Fine. I'll do the podcast. Okay. And then after you do the podcast, we'll see how you feel for working out and we'll deal with that at that time. But one thing at a time, first things first. So do you see how I negotiated with yourself? You're really negotiating with your inner teenager or like your inner preteen, like that age when you start like, it's really preteen. It's like that 11, 12, when you really are like, kids are so selfish by nature, right? It's like, you don't want to clean your damn room. Like it's like, I don't care if you're even giving me allowance money, which I never got, by the way. But I stole money from my mom's purse. That's fun. So if any of you moms are like, I swear to God, I know I had a couple 20s in my wallet. I don't know what happened. I must have spent it on something. I'm just saying. I'm not the only clever child. What did I spend it on? There was this store. You're like, we didn't need to know what you spent it on. Well, I'm telling you anyway, because it'll be funny. What did I spend it on? Well, growing up in North Shore, Chicago, those of my Chicago people, Midwest people might remember Woodfield Mall. I think it's in Schaumburg. It is like, it's one of those mega malls that you're like, I mean, it's insane. Not like the famous, what's the mall in Minneapolis? Not that that's like the biggest mall in the world. Not that big, but it's still like a jumbo mall. And I don't think it's a thing anymore. It's probably not. At least it was when I was growing up. Like it was the holy grail when you had a parent who would drop you and your friends off at the mall for the day. Like that was the holy grail. And, hopefully they'd give you some money. But I also went to the mall and had friends who didn't have any money. And that wasn't fun. So I'd always give them some money. But anyway, so yeah, we'd get dropped off at the mall, but there were these stores, that were it was kind of like Hot Topic, where they had all sorts of office supplies, but like really cute shit, like Hello Kitty stuff and all of that. That's what I took money out of the purse for. We're like Hello Kitty erasers, those like multi-functional pens where you could like push it, like one pen had multiple colors in it. So you could push down one thing and like pink, there'd be pink, and push down another, it'd be purple. That's the kind of shit I spent my money on. This office supply thing like has gone on since the beginning of time. So I want you to realize, number one, you're negotiating with your inner tween, so to speak. So whether you have kids or not, you're negotiating with a child. You're the child who doesn't want to do anything, doesn't want to go to school, doesn't want to clean the room, doesn't want to adult. Because, yeah, why would you want to adult? You're a kid. Well, you're not a kid anymore. You are adult. You have adult goals. You want to make real adult cash. You don't want to make kid cash, like babysitting and making $15. You want to make adult cash. You want to do big things. You've got to be a big girl, put your big girl panties on, your big boy panties on. Boys don't wear panties. Well, some do. Anyway. I know I have issues. I told you guys I was in a weird state. That's why I was like, I don't know if I should record this. So I'm going off on multiple tangents. Just bear with me. So you need to negotiate with yourself, but first recognize that it's that inner child in you that's just not feeling like it, never feels like it, doesn't want to. You have to be the parent. And I want you to ask yourself this question, and this will stop you in your tracks. You have to train yourself to ask you this. What would the version of me who is operating out of true service and love do? What would the version of me who is operating out of true service and love do right now? When you're operating out of true service and love for your clients, for your mission, for your brand, for your employees, for yourself, for your family, for your charities that you support, for your church, when you are for God, for the universe, for your angels, when you are operating out of true service and love, what do? Do you put it off and say, I'm not going to do that? Do you do hard things? Do you do shit that you don't necessarily feel like doing? Do you rise to the occasion even if you didn't sleep? Of course you do, right? Of course you do. You don't do it in spite of yourself. When you're operating out of service and love, you don't abuse yourself and keep pushing and forcing and hustling when you need to take a nap. I'm not saying that. That's also a form of self-abandonment and abuse. But you rise to the occasion. So I stopped myself today and I went, okay, what would the version of me that's operating out of service and love do? And instantly the answer came. Do the damn podcast. You're going upstairs right now. Like, done. And I didn't, him and ha, I got up, came up here and just did the damn thing. And didn't give any more thought to it because I trust what comes up right away. So I want you to ask yourself that question. I can't make you follow through once you get the answer, but I also don't want you to shame yourself with it. You know, your higher self would at least take one action. That doesn't mean you have to do like all 10 things on your list. So another thing that perfectionist procrastinators do is you guys put way too many things on your list and on your plate because it gives you a short-term high and sense of pleasure by having all these things on your list. It gives you an illusion of being productive. It's like pinning a bunch of recipes and shit on Pinterest or even like saving a bunch of workout videos on YouTube. It makes you feel like you're doing something, or even buying stuff off Amazon. or even buying office supplies or like organizational supplies or something. It makes you feel like you're taking action when you're really not doing shit. But let's call it like it is. And we've all of you have done it. I know I've done it many times. So you'd be in action. If you're being of service and love, you are in action. Is it out of service and love to be in no action, to sit on the couch and scroll, to sit on the couch and eat fire Cheetos and watch Netflix? No, it is not. That is not in service and in love. So you have to get yourself to do it if you really want what you say you want. Now, third thing I want to share with you is something that I had to do for myself, just knowing myself. Okay, so those first two things, absolutely, I did is, I'm negotiating and being the parent to that inner tween who's just defiant, who doesn't want to adult. Why would she? Why would she want to adult? She's a child. And also, I have a resistance to adulting because I've had to be a fucking adult since I was like 6 years old. And I know there's a lot of you listening who grew up that way too. And it's like, adulting doesn't sound fun because I've not had enough childlike play and fun in my life. I didn't have that childlike play childhood. So there's even more of a resistance there. So you really have to engage and be a loving parent to that inner tween, that inner teen. And then you have to ask yourself that question, what would the version of myself who's operating out of service and love do? The third thing is like a fail safe is what I call it. Because I did those first two things, but I still wasn't achieving at the level I know I could be. And quite frankly, that I was destined for, that I should be, that God created me to be. And that wasn't being of service and love. And I needed a way to hold myself accountable. I wasn't enough to hold myself accountable. I just wasn't. And I had to have like a come to Jesus with myself. It wasn't enough for me to hold myself accountable. It could only get me so far. Okay. So what I do is for me, when I spend money, and not like $10, like I'm talking, it needs to be money where it's noticeable. I spend money on hiring people to help me, on having coaches, on having, I could belong to the Gold's Gym here, for example. No knocking Gold's. I love Gold's. I think it's like $49 a month. But instead, I'm at Equinox, which is now, well, none of them are open right now, but it's $200 a month. One is, yes, I do deserve to be at, the fancy gym with the marble bathroom. But really, the other reason is I will show up more because I'm not going to let a gym membership that I know a lot of people would love to afford that can't I think it's basically disrespecting money to be spending $200 a month and not show up, because I have such a high respect for money. I mean, great respect for money, right? So one of the things I teach is if you disrespect money, then you're not going to be given more money. So I know that about myself. So I have coaches in place that I spend thousands of dollars on, because what am I going to do? I'm not going to show up and fulfill the homework or the promises that I've made to my coaches that I'm paying all this money for and that I respect. That'd be very embarrassing, and I'd be wasting my own money. It doesn't work as well for me if someone is a friend, because when someone's a friend and you're not paying them, you can get away with a lot. Okay. For me, it needs to be someone who I respect, who I'd be embarrassed, right? I'd be embarrassed not to show up for. That'd be embarrassing. And I wouldn't want to waste their time or disrespect them or waste my money. So if there's something that you have been stuck on in your business or your side hustle or some kind of goal, it could be a personal goal too. It could be your health, whatever, your fitness. Even if you're like, girl, I don't have that much extra money, even fucking better. I would put it on a credit card. I've done that. Where then you're like, I better really show up because I don't have just piles of cash sitting around. And then that'll make you show up and do the thing, and you'll get that money back tenfold, 100-fold. I've never not gotten my money back from any kind of investment. Another example is for my Selling with Soul program. I'm turning it into a program. It was a course when I first launched it in February, and now I'm turning it into a program, which I'm super excited about. So I knew for me to get all the videos done, all the modules done, and all of the PDFs and the workbooks and the bonuses and all the great stuff that comes with it, I wasn't going to complete it just on my own and carve out time on a Saturday and do it all. I just wasn't. I just kept putting it off. There never seemed to be the time. I was never in the right vibe. All the perfectionist procrastinator stories. So you know what I did? I hired a professional videographer and editor, and I have someone on my team who makes all of my stuff look pretty. So I enlisted her and said, we need to have deadlines on this, like full-on project deadlines where I have to get you this by this date and the titles by this date. And she gave me a full deadline, and all those markers were in my calendar. I had money out on 2 different people. I had the time set for the videographer to come and shoot. So everything had to be ready by then. I booked hair and makeup. So it's another person I'm accountable to. And you want to know what? The stuff that was taking me months when I was trying to just do it on my own, 'cause you can record videos on your own and still have a great course. You don't have to do all that. All the stuff I was trying to do, like, for the most part, on my own, it wasn't getting done for months. You know how long it took me to get all of the elements, I also paid people to do my logos for it. All the elements to put all that together. Oh, and all the emails. I even had help with that. All of that money that I spent got me to get all of that done in about 3 weeks versus me sitting around, I think it was 6 months maybe, of me going, oh, I know I need to do that. I know I need to launch that. I know I need to do that. I'll do it all next Thursday, and then didn't do it. It was worth all the money that I spent putting that together, which was thousands of dollars. It was worth it because the fucking thing actually got done so that I could make all that money back and then some, which I did. Otherwise, it would have never happened. If I'm being honest, it would have never happened. I don't even think it would have happened a year out, because it's just how I can be. It's that perfectionist procrastinator thing. I'm telling you, that has been the biggest game changer in getting me to get those big things off my plate. Maybe you're sitting there chewing on like, what niche should I be in? I don't know what my niche is because I don't know what my niche is, and I'm not 100% certain on who my ideal client is. I'm not really able to write content easily, and I'm not really able to get on video because I don't really know who I'm talking to, and I get so confused, and I keep watching webinars and reading other people's stuff, and I'm still not sure. Now we've gone weeks where you still don't know, maybe some of you months, and now you're blowing off your business. So do something. Book a 90-minute session with me. I just put out my August dates for those. You don't have to apply to get a 90-minute coaching session with me. It's only $497. I will be raising the prices soon. I have not raised those prices since I started ProjectME. And it's starting to not feel good because it's a really low price point for me. I mean, that's like a crazy low price point to get me one-on-one all to yourself. So you're stuck somewhere, book that. You just go to projectmewithtiffany.com, go to work with me. You'll see it there. And now you'll have a date and a time, and you're like, okay, I better at least list out what specifically I need help with, because I'm not going to show up for a call with Tiffany that I'm spending $497 on, and someone I respect and that who's going to hold me accountable. I'd be really embarrassed. And then you'll get clarity, you'll get your answers, and then it would be quite embarrassing after that for you and lame to not follow through and do something with it, because your whole thing you're telling yourself is you're not following through because of this, that, or the other. You need clarity on this. You need to figure out this. You don't know what to do with this. And now you have all that and you're still not following through. That's not going to feel good. And you know damn well I'm going to watch your ass and see that you follow through. And that's going to make you do it. Otherwise, you're going to keep spinning your wheels. And I'm just using me as an example of like just hire somebody, pay somebody you respect, who you wouldn't want to let down, who can help you and who is grounded enough to keep you accountable. Not someone who's going to let you get away with shit. Because there's a lot of really nice people out there, really nice coaches, but they're almost too nice. And those of you who know how to manipulate, which, listen, we all know how to manipulate, but those of you who are really good at manipulating can easily do that with those people. You need to hire someone where you would be like horrified to not follow through, and where it's a dollar amount that you wouldn't want to waste. I'm someone who I don't even want to waste $5. That's just how I've always been, regardless of how much I have in the bank. I mean, I fucking cut coupons still. That's just how I am. I never want to waste money. But you guys have to set appointments. Maybe you need to get a personal trainer, even if it's a virtual trainer, instead of doing free YouTube videos. You're not showing up for the YouTube videos because no one cares if you show up. Maybe it's worth it hiring a freaking virtual trainer so you actually show up and actually do the things and actually get results and actually feel better and actually get the energy you want. And then you have the energy you want, then you're going to do other things, and it's a cascade effect in your life. That's really the biggest change. I mean, the mindset component, don't get me wrong, is very important, but that still only went so far for me, because I can be really, really clever. My mind can be actually quite cunning and convincing. It can really go down a whole path about why it's really important that I do this tomorrow or next week versus right now. I mean, I can come up with good stuff, and I've heard the best excuses, especially from moms, and they try them on me, which makes me laugh because you guys know I don't have kids. So it's like, I love when moms try to like use the kid as the reason with me, thinking I'll buy into it because I'm not a mom. Oh, hell's no. You know why I don't buy into it? Because all of my close friends have kids, and several of my close friends who now have 7-figure businesses, they started their businesses when their kids were toddlers, several of whom were divorced, did it alone, had no nanny, had no help, had no family helping, and they did it anyway. I'm the worst person to give that excuse to. But moms come up with great excuses in their heads, like, well, this will take away from the children. Oh, the kids really need me. I'm homeschooling now because of the COVID thing, and I've got to focus my time on that. I mean, and your ego can really buy into that because it's your kids and you'd be a bad mom otherwise. And that's not what a mom would do. So if you are doing stuff like that, that's that perfectionism procrastinator. It's very cunning and sneaky. Bottom line is, if you're not feeling or achieving what it is that you want, you need to have a drastic change take place and actually be done with it and do something and have someone hold you accountable. Otherwise, you're going to just be in the same spot a year from now. Keep in mind, you guys, I had the name and the idea and the mission statement for ProjectME with Tiffany Carter for 10 years before I started it. Some of it was divine timing. God knew it wouldn't have been in the best time or of integrity for me to start sooner. But truthfully, I would say I could have started 4 years sooner. There was 4 years of that where the perfectionism procrastinator stuff was fear-based stuff without a freaking doubt. 1,000%, maybe even 5 years. And look at all of that additional impact, not just income. We love cash, but impact that I could have made by having this 5 more years. I see how much I've accomplished in 2. and you add 5 more years to that, I'm telling you, time goes by so fast. And doing it tomorrow, doing it next week, doing it when the kids go back to school, doing it when this COVID thing is over, and keep putting it off. It's amazing. Look, we're almost done with 2020. Like, what in the hell happened to 2020? Pretty soon, like, the damn Christmas tree is going up. It's like, what in the hell? And then you're going to be like, oh my God, what did I do here? So I'm speaking this into you and repeating myself emphatically so you guys really, really hear me, almost like a wake-up call to my perfectionist procrastinators, because I wish someone was able to do it for me. So I'm holding that space for you. If you guys love this episode, share it on Instagram, tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany. There's definitely another perfectionist procrastinator in your audience that needs to hear this episode, and this is going to light a fire under their ass, and then they're going to share it, and then it's going to light a fire under another person's ass, and we want to create that domino effect of us getting into action. Wishing you guys great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.